What is up, guys? It is Justin here with another unboxing video today. Today we're doing something a little special. We're going to unbox both of the Monster Hunter World core game boxes from the Kickstarter. I just received my Kickstarter boxes today, so we're going to go ahead and go through them. They're a little bit too big for what my recording setup is right now, so I can't actually show you the box lid. But it's basically, and I can kind of, it's basically this art with, Monster Hunter World written on it, and it kind of gives you some key pieces of information. 1 to 4 players, 14 years or older is the recommended age. It takes about 60 to 90 minutes to play, and this is a core set. So there are actually 2 core sets for the Monster Hunter World board game. They are broken up into the Ancient Forest and the Wildspire Wastes. So we're going to start with those, and we're going to basically go through the contents as you see it in the box. So the first thing you see is that little piece of paper, and actually on the back of that, this isn't just a useless little thing here. On the back side, it shows you how to organize your storage tray once you've opened everything up, so that's really handy. So I've opened up this a little bit, but I haven't gone super in depth with what's in here. So the first thing you see is there's a little tray that has the wings for your Rathalos. And these ones, I've gone through most of the minis. This is the only one I've seen that has like pegs and like a shaped thing, but he's quite large. Let me grab you a couple size comparisons. Let's see. This is a Space Marine right here. So footprint wise, much larger. And then height wise, also quite big. Another size comparison would be there's a Dreadnought for you, a 30k Dreadnought. Again, this one stands a little taller, but I think overall the Rathalos is much larger. The next monster we have in the box is the Anjanath. This is one of the new monsters, or one of the newer monsters when Worlds came out. This was, I think, the flagship besides the Nergigante. Also, before we get too crazy into the unboxing of this, this is going to be unboxing part 1. I'm going to do unboxing for this in 3 parts. I backed it at the all-in level, and I did not buy additional minis, meaning you could buy an extra Rathalos, and you could buy an extra Diablos. I'm just going to probably 3D print extra minis to use so I have alternate poses and alternate paint jobs. But I want to break things down into if you buy a core set, if you buy expansions, and then the Kickstarter exclusive content. So that's the Anjanath. Next we've got Tobi-Gadachi. Again, he's I think the second smallest monster in this particular box. He's still quite big, like he's very long, but he's kind of short. And then the smallest monster in the box is the Great Jagras. Now you might notice on the bases they have this X pattern marked out. In the core game, when you're playing, you can do different damages to each of the monster's quadrants. So if you attack it from the front, you're basically attacking the head. If you're attacking from the sides, I think you're essentially attacking the arms or the legs. And then from the back, you're attacking the tail. And if you've ever played Monster Hunter, you know that this is kind of an important element of the game. So it's kind of nice that it's represented on the tabletop. So those are your 4 monsters for the first core set. So next I've got to take out the tray, and we've got tokens. So I'm not 100% sure what all of these are, but we are going to go through them together. I won't be opening the one for the Wildspire Wastes yet. So part of this is because the tokens are going to be the same, and part of this is because I'm not going to be playing the Wildspire Wastes immediately. I think I'm going to play the Ancient Forest first. If I can get this open. I knew I should have brought a knife. There we go. Alrighty, so included in every core set, you are going to get, obviously, your sheet of tokens. These are tokens used to represent different things in the game. So from my understanding, these are, anytime you do an attack that deals the part damage, what's the word I'm looking for, status ailment, you'll put one of these tokens on the monster, and then when you do enough to actually break the part, you'll switch it to the red one. Might be vice versa, but I don't know what these are. I believe these are probably monster modifier tokens. These are wheels. I think these are for tracking the monster's health or for tracking something else. These are, I think, essentially initiative tokens. These are Palico tokens. And then we've got Sleep, Blast, Poison, Dragon, Stun, or KO or whatever, Lightning, Paralysis, Ice, Water, and Fire status. We've got another sheet of basically the same. The big difference here is the numbers on these tokens are different, and some of these are different. And then I believe this is what we use to track the monster's health, and then these are environmental tokens to represent different elements on the board, such as, I think this might be water, these are bushes or something like that. Haven't read through the rule book yet, so I don't know exactly what they are, but I think I'm pretty correct. You have your hunt board. This is 1/4 of it, so it actually unfolds. It's double-sided, so one side is going to be forest-themed. The other side is a little bit more open-looking. There's a waterfall over here, so and that serves no gameplay advantage or disadvantage, or it doesn't change how the game plays. It's purely cosmetic. Next, we have 2 books. So the first book is your rule book. This is going to explain your win conditions. This is going to explain how what your game contains, how to play the game, how the flow of the game works, how to use your campaign sheets, how you pick your quests, etc. So there's a lot here. It breaks everything down for you so that you know what you're doing and how to play. This next book is your quest book. So there's 2 ways to play this game. You can play from 1 to 4 players. You can either play in a campaign scenario setting, or you can play what is known as arena. So I think if we go to the back, we have arena quests. So arena quests are, you will choose one of these weapons based on what you want to do. It will give you extra stuff based on how many hunters you have. You choose which weapon you want, and it'll tell you which cards to take. So if you take the switch axe, you're going to get the Gnashing Flamebeal, the Anjanath Helmet, Anjanath Mail, or Rathalos Soul Greaves, and that's your loadout for that particular arena quest. So that's the way that works. Alternatively, if you want to play a campaign, you're going to choose your hunt. So the first hunt is the Great Jagras. You have to do the assigned quest first. It'll give you a number of time cards, what your scout fly level should be, and then where you start in the book. And then from here, you will read this first little section here. You will gain what it tells you, and then some of them have multiple choices. You will choose your option. You get to read the options and what you get, but you don't know what the next scenario is. So it's kind of like a choose your own adventure style thing until you meet the hunt, and then you go to the second phase of the game where you actually fight the monster. Next we've got 4 player boards. So the way this works is this is your stamina track. This is where you put your weapon. This is where you put your helmet, your body armor, your leg armor, and then I think other modifiers and stuff go up top of here. If you have a Palico, you can put your Palico token or Palico card here, and you kind of draw cards and you put them on your stamina track from left to right. Next we've got campaign sheets. So if you're playing a campaign, I don't know if this is, I believe each player is probably going to get one of these. I could be wrong. There's not a ton of them, so I'll probably just make copies if I decide to start a campaign. But the thing I like about this is you don't have to lock things into certain parts of the board when you're done. You can just jot down what you have and then put everything back in the box, and you can always come back to it, so that's nice. Next we've got our monster cards, and there's a very healthy stack of these. There's also some other stuff here. We'll go over these here real quick. And again, I'm not going to go like as in-depth on the other box. We're pretty much just going to show off the minis for the other boxes. Ugh. Okay, so you have 3 Great Jagras cards. Each one corresponds with a quest level, so 1, 2, and 3. On the back of these cards, you have your rewards table. So after you finish the hunt, you'll flip this card over, and I think everybody rolls on the table. And then if you break certain parts of the monsters, you get bonus rolls or bonus materials. So super handy. So we've got 3 for Great Jagras, 3 for Toby Gadachi, 3 for Anjanath, and 3 for Rathalos. But I don't know if this is a Kickstarter exclusive. I'm 99% sure it is. There's the Azure Rathalos. So if you wanted to play a variant on the Rathalos, you can play that, and that comes in 1, 2, and 3 star variants as well. The next kind of card we have in this stack is your Forge reference. So whatever weapon you're playing, you can play. I believe, I was originally led to believe that you could only play certain weapons, and it looks like for the most part, unless they're in another box, you can pretty much only play Greatsword, Dual Blades, Bow, Sword and Shield, Greatsword. There's another Dual Blades, another Bow, another Sword and Shield. So these will kind of guide you through how to progress through the game if you're playing a campaign. This will tell you, like, this is what you start with, and then if you want to build another weapon, you have to build the farthest to the left, and then you can build over. And it tells you what materials you need, and then you'll swap certain cards out of your attack deck to modify your attack deck to do certain things. And then most of the weapons are paired off with a monster, but some are paired off with just materials, just like in the game. And they will give you different benefits, so you know what you're looking for when you're trying to make certain weapons. So that's really nice. We have 4 hunters. So these are the hunters that are in this core box. We've got a Sword and Shield hunter. Looks like he's wearing, or she is wearing, Rathalos armor. We have Dual Blades. This guy is wearing, I think that's Anjanath armor. We have the Bow. This looks like it's probably Toby Gadachi armor. And finally, the Greatsword, I think that is Anjanath. So 4 hunters you get in the core box, and then you're going to get cards. I'm not going to open all of these. I'll open a couple because they are all different, and I don't know what they all are, and I don't want them super duper mixed up. But here's all the cards from just this core box, and then a small deck. These are your monster behavior cards. So this game functions off of a monster AI deck. You'll shuffle this, and then I believe that each one of the monsters also has 3 or 4 scout fly cards, and then based on how many scout flies you get during your pre-hunt, it'll tell you to add one of them to your behavior deck. You shuffle that together, and then you start hunting. So let's see. This looks like it's armor. This is bow, and there's great sword on the front. These are Palico cards and time cards. So the game has a built-in timer mechanic where, just like in the real Monster Hunter video game, hunts typically, when you get towards the end of the game, they'll give you an hour timer. And then this is kind of represented by this deck. So every time you draw one of these cards, you'll have a certain thing. Now, not all of them do something. Some of them just advance time. But this will also give you extra things that you can do during your player turn. This looks like bow and greatsword again. Greatsword and bow. So I think these are just different tiers of cards or whatever. And this looks like the elemental and the damage deck. So we will open this one up because I'm curious about this one. And then I might open one of the other decks. So the elemental cards, I believe the way these work are you will shuffle these up, and if you're doing an elemental status effect or whatever, you will draw from this instead of your standard, or in addition to your standard damage deck. So there's a bunch of different damage cards, and these will go on the side of your board, and every time you attack the monster, you will draw a certain number of these, and you'll add them together. Now, I don't think that right now these are shuffled. I think they actually go from 1 to 4, because your deck is going to start with that initial set of numbers. So 7, 4, and 1. So it looks like you're always going to have 12. If my math's right, yeah. You're always going to have 12, but each one gives you different stuff, and that's why I just realized it. I think is never mind. Okay, so I did forget something though. So on the front of your, we're just going to use the greatsword one for reference. This shows you how many of each card you're going to have, so you can choose a weapon based on how much damage you want to do, or if you want to do elemental stuff, if you want extra defense. On the back, it shows you how you craft each of these different armors. And anybody can wear any armor, but once you're locked into a weapon, I believe that's the weapon you're locked into. Okay, so I've gone ahead, I've opened up most of the cards. So this is the armor deck. There are 4 of every armor type in the game. They show where they go, they show the rarity, there's a picture of it, and then it shows what benefit you get from that. So this one will give you 1 armor and 1 water armor. Same thing with this, and if there's extra statuses or extra effects that you get, that's super good. So if for example you have this helmet on, not only do you get these resistances, but you also get to do 2 different types of actions in the same turn, which is really nice. And then I'm sure that these effects are wildly different. So whenever you walk, you can move an extra space with the Anjanath armor. If you play a fire attack, you get to draw a +1 elemental, I guess. So that's really cool. I like that there's a bunch of every one. It shows you that everybody can get all the armors, and you don't have to worry about, oh well, this my friend got this armor set, so now I can't get it. There's enough for everybody to run whatever gear they want. in true Monster Hunter spirit. Now, the weapons are, I'm not sure, again, how this works, but this is my assumption. So I think that there was one deck that had all of the starter equipment in it. So I think if you take Sword and Shield, for example, this is your starter gear, I think. And then this is your starter deck. So these are all of your attacks that you get as a Sword and Shield user. So all of those will do certain things. As you can tell, they all have a yellow line running through them. A couple have the end of the line, so that's like your end of your combo. And then, you know, what they all do. Now, I haven't looked through the rules yet, so I don't know exactly what these cards do. But I do think, I know how the rest of this works. So we already went over that your damage deck is going to be modified by what weapon you're wielding. So your starter weapon gives you 8 plus 1s, 4 plus 2s. Whereas this one gives you 5 plus 1s, 4 2s, and 1 3. But I think it goes further than that. Yeah, so this, I think these are color-coded in a way that you are going to remove certain attacks based on a weapon you have, and you're going to add an attack of the same rarity into your campaign. Now, I don't think, I could be wrong, I don't think that the campaigns are cross-compatible. A friend of mine and I have been talking on and off about the game. He thinks they are, but I'm not sure. So if they are, that's awesome. I'm super stoked. I know that the upcoming Iceborne expansion has already been confirmed to not be story mode compatible. So you can't like fold those new Iceborne monsters into your campaign for this. But I think that there's the possibility that the two core sets are compatible. Now, I know expansions are a standalone thing, and you can fold those in. I was looking through one of the expansion books just briefly, and it, like, the first thing it mentions is how to add it to your campaign. So if you get any of the expansions, you can completely add those to your campaign. So this is, I think, the time deck. I don't think any of these are tied to one specific monster. I believe, yeah, these are just generic. So I imagine you'll shuffle this up. You'll draw a certain number for each monster deck or whatever monster you're fighting, and that's the way it works. There are more palicos than I thought. So it looks like this is a kind of generic attack or defense boost, ailment cure, dodge boost. Okay, so they're not the same. Then there's Plunder Blade, Wrath of Meow, Molotov Cocktail, Flash Fly Cage, Vigor Wasp Spray, and Shield Spire. I watched a video. I think that what you do is at the beginning of your setup phase, you'll shuffle these together, you'll draw two, you'll pick the one you want, and that's your Palico, which is a neat system. So that is pretty much the cards. I guess we can go through a couple of the monster behavior cards. I don't really want to spoil too much with these. I kind of like the idea of going in blind and figuring the game out as I play. It's very much, that's the way I play Monster Hunter, but I don't have a problem showing off a couple of these because I don't exactly know how to read these entirely yet. I do know that this has to do with, basically you read the card from left to right. So like these two are kind of flipped. So this one means the monster's going to move 2 spaces, and I don't know if this means that it's going to move towards whatever target is on its left, or if this just means the closest target. Then you're going to move over to this side. It's going to do 6 damage to you, and I don't know what the rest of these mean. But I do know that this means on the next turn, each hunter, it tells you how many hunters will be able to activate and how many actions they'll be able, or how many cards they'll be able to play on their turn. So this card, for example, 1 hunter is going to activate before the monster activates again. That hunter can activate 3 cards. Whereas this one, 3 hunters can activate, and they each can play 2 cards. Now on the back of these cards, it also kind of gives you a rough idea what the monster is going to be doing. I don't know if this is tied to loot or what, But again, each monster has their own behavior decks, and they will kind of give you hints on what is coming up. So you'll shuffle these and you will make a little deck for each monster before you start the hunt. The last little bits, you've got these little two-part things for all your dials, and then 3 dice. The only dice you roll in the game are for getting loot, so I'm pretty glad that a lot of the randomness, or the random chance of just failing a attack roll entirely is gone from the game. I think that's a good thing. It's much more about knowing what cards you have and leveraging that in the hunt. So I'm going to do one more cut. I'm going to go ahead and grab some of the minis out of the next expansion, and then we'll wrap this video up. Alright, so the first monster in the Wildspire Waste, I don't actually know. It's just the smallest monster, so I think it's a safe assumption. I think it's weird that this is a Wildspire Waste monster, not a forest monster, but with the other forest monsters, I guess I can see why. And I don't agree with leaving this man out. He's actually one of my favorite monsters in the game, the Pookie Pookie. He's the cutest man, and I'm so looking forward to painting this model. So that's what he looks like. The next largest monster is the Geratiados. He's like a big fish dude. I'm, by contrast, not really looking forward to painting him. I think this is the only one I'm really not stoked about. So I think when I crack into this box, I'll probably paint him first, just to get him out of the way. He might be fun. We'll see. Next, we have another favorite of mine, the Baroth. He is a monster that covers himself in mud to give himself some extra protection. I believe that might still be in effect in the game. I think I'm actually going to use some some crackle paint over top of him to kind of simulate that effect when it comes to painting him, and then paint him up in his normal colors. And then the largest monster out of the core sets, this is the first, I think, double XL monster. This is the Diablos, and he is wonderful. He is so huge. His arms pop off. He is absolutely massive. Very cool looking monster. Very imposing on the table. Very large. He has a lot of real estate. Now I think mine might be ever so slightly warped, but it's not warped in enough that it's like a game changer or anything. It's not going to mess up or affect my gameplay in any way. And beyond that, we have some extra content here. So like I said, we're going to kind of glaze over some of the rest of this because all of the game components are kind of the same. The only difference is you have different weapons, different armors, and different hunters. And then we'll actually do some size comparisons because I didn't do that last time with the hunters. So those are your 4 quarry, if you will, in this box. We have a switch axe with Baroth armor. We have the insect glaive with Diablos armor. Interesting choice there. We have my favorite, the charge blade. And he is looking like, I believe this is Geratiados, maybe. It might also be Diablos armor. And then we have the light bowgun, I think this is. And this is, I believe, Pookie Pookie armor. So there's your 4 hunters. And then here's, again, the size comparison. So everything is scaled accordingly. The monsters feel ginormous compared to the hunters. And I love that because that's kind of, again, one of the big themes of Monster Hunter is everything's ginormous and dangerous. And you have to learn to survive against these gigantic creatures. So there you go. That's how large Diablos is. So yeah, so that is my unboxing of the 4 core sets. I'm going to go ahead and do, my next video is going to be on expansions. There's, I think, 4 expansions, maybe 5. And then we have Kickstarter exclusive content, which I think is a monster, and some extra stuff. So we'll get into that in a little bit.